You're listening to Bold Hearts, Big Moves, the show for female entrepreneurs who want it all: a thriving business, deep self love, and fulfilling relationships. I'm Erin Anderson, and each week we will dive into how to set stronger boundaries, make empowered choices, and show up in life and business with boldness, authenticity, and heart. Because let's be real, the money you make is directly related to the love that you have for yourself and the strength of your relationships. So if you're ready to lead with love and make those big moves with those bold hearts, let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bold Hearts, Big Moves. Okay, so today, guys, I wanted to talk to you guys about boundaries a bit more. I know, those of you that have been listening to this show for a little while, know that maybe I don't know, but actually, anytime I talk about boundaries, those are some of the most popular episodes. And I think I get why, the reason why I started talking about boundaries in the first place and really researching it was because, I started off helping women through betrayal trauma, um, and healing from like relationship trauma, etc. And I noticed that these women, they they'd invest with me and then they would go on and just like double and triple like what they had invested with me without me ever talking to them once about money. And I thought that was really interesting, and kind of started wondering like what it was that caused such a change in them, not only in their relationship, in the quality of the relationships. But I also wanted to know like why, like what was changing in the quality of their money, right? Like why were they able to do what they were doing? And a lot of them were doing it on a more subconscious level, like they didn't even realize like what they were calling in. And so I started looking into it a little bit more, and I can honestly say that the answer came down to boundaries. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you've heard me say that boundaries are not what you put up with another person. That is the result of a boundary. How other people react to who you say you're going to be. But a boundary is a consistent state of being. It is who you say you're going to be now. And a good boundary will also encourage you to consistently improve who you are. I just barely got done recording with a bunch of guest speakers that I'm going to be speaking with come March. And by the way, guys, if you guys want a ticket to the upcoming Art of Expansion, I'll be speaking there on boundaries, go figure, and how they help you create more cash. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that today. But if you guys would love an invite, or if you guys would love a ticket to that, please let me know. I have got lots and lots and lots of tickets to give you. It's going to be in Provo, Utah, March 12th, 13th, and 14th. Come check me out. Come check out the other speakers, because we're going to be talking about how to help you elevate your life, your mentality, your everything, so that way you can call in the results and the abundance that you want. Like that's literally what the whole thing is about. So if you guys would like a ticket to that, hit me up, message the show, etc. Let's see if we can't get you out there. Okay. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about boundaries and how they get you to that abundance. And like I said, it comes down to how you choose to be. A boundary is going to help you consistently grow. And what I was saying on that group podcast today was that boundaries, because they help you grow, um, it means that you're going to be consistently choosing a new mindset. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's the new year, right? We always talk about a new year, new you. I hear a lot of people talk about like the word of the year, right? Which I think is a great practice. I think, thinking about what like the characteristics and more of who you want to be, who you say you're going to be, and showing up as that person. I am all for that. I think that's great. Let's definitely have more of that. But also, like I said, a new state of being, which means that if we take a look at and see who we want to be, like who our next steps are, and that means that there are some characteristics that we're going to have to start trying on. For instance, I personally want better health. One of the things that I will be focusing on more in depth this year is my own personal health journey. Okay. Because I feel like I've done a lot of work in my mental, emotional, and spiritual states, and I really have. But my health still needs work. And in order for me to show up as the person I want to be, health is going to have to be a really big factor. And so that means that I'm going to have to start doing things that align with that mindset, right? Like getting out and exercising, being more intentional about what I'm eating, making sure that I am, you know, sorry guys, but like whatever health means to me, movement, nutrition, uh maybe taking some meditation, maybe it's going to be more of a mindset thing. Like I am personally right now getting clear on what healthy on a physical level means to me. What would that person be doing? That healthy version of me, what is she doing that I am not currently doing? And now we start setting boundaries around I am someone who is physically active. I am someone who's very intentional about what she puts into her body. And, we get into these I am statements, and those I am statements lead us to consistent action, and those consistent actions lead to consistent results. And that's something that we've always said that we wanted, right? If we want a consistent income, then there's consistent results that have to be had in order to achieve that income. Um, but if we're, and the thing is one of the greatest ways to become consistent at something or boundaried at something is to envision it ourselves. Mary Morrissey, she talks a lot about this, that everything has to be created twice. And what she means by that is everything has to first and foremost be created first in your mind. And then you can transfer what's going on in your mind into your physical world. We have to actually see it in order to achieve it. Now, if you guys are here because you want more leads, you have to see yourself with all of these leads. You have to see yourself, you know, making those $100,000 sales. You have to see yourself doing these things before you can actually put it into action. And the reason why is because we have a very picturesque brain. Our brain will work on the how if we show it the what. It always does that because it sees the gap and it wants to meet that gap. And this is how we start putting our brain to action. And this is why boundaries are so important, is because when we start calling in and saying, this is who I am, this is who I choose to be, our brain is going to consistently start seeing that and is going to help us catch up to that. Okay. So, how do we create then the unbreakable boundary? Right? When I talk about boundaries, again, remember that I'm saying that this is your state of being, who you choose to be. And other people will respond to that either positively or negatively. The point of the matter is you don't want to change who you say you are to please another person because that betrays you and it confuses them. When we're constant and what I mean constant is either in a constant state of grace, like doing good things, or constantly improving. These are ways that people learn to know, like, and trust us. Is what are we constant at? I want you guys to think for just a minute about like someone that you totally trust. What are they constantly good at? Why do they consistently have your trust? And think about someone who you don't really trust. What are they constant at, right? Why don't you consistently trust them? I have a friend who, we were just talking about this not too long ago. She's going through a really messy divorce from her narcissistic ex-husband. And, uh, one of the things we've talked about a lot is the consistency there. What is he actually consistently doing? Because that is what we trust. We trust consistency. What someone constantly does, not what they constantly say, but how they constantly show up. And in this case, we can trust that the ex-husband is going to consistently be ornery, negative, and kind of harassing, to be honest with you. Those are the things she can trust. And because of that, she knows how to act. But then there are those people that are in our lives that we absolutely love, that really show up for us. And those people are consistent in another way. I've got a great car salesman and mechanic in the little town that I live in. And one of the things he is so good at and so consistent at is his honesty. He does not lie to you. He does not sell you a lemon. If there's any issue at all with your car, he takes care of it. And that is what he's consistent at. And so, from someone who's kind of been burned by car salesmen, his honesty is so refreshing. And guess what? He's someone that I will consistently buy a car from because of where he is consistent. And to him, his unbreakable boundary is he will always tell you the truth. He will never not give you an honest answer. And that's honestly the case with him. And it's because he takes care and great pride in that. He really, really wants his customers to have a great experience with him. And not only that, he sees himself first and foremost as someone who is honest. He sees himself as someone who cares about his community, his neighbors, and he wants them to have the best experience possible. His honesty is something that he does not break. And this is when I talk about unbreakable boundaries, this is what I'm talking about. One of my unbreakable boundaries is I will not ever get into self-criticism. If I land there, like when I'm exploring my emotions, I don't stay there. I will always get into self-compassion. And the reason why that is one of my unbreakable boundaries is because honestly, if I allow my brain to go into how I'm such a horrible person, a lot of things can unravel from that. I've got, listeners that are depending on me to put out a podcast. I've got followers. I've got kids. I've got family. I've got neighbors that depend on my ability to be strong mentally and emotionally for them. If I allow myself to stay stuck in self-criticism, then I also allow myself to believe lies. I don't want to believe lies. I want to believe what God wants me to believe, and I want to be who He wants me to be. And in order for me to do that, I have to trust or speak to myself the way He would want me to speak to myself. That doesn't mean I don't take accountability for my actions. And when I make mistakes, or even sometimes when I just straight up sin, I still take accountability for my actions. But I do not get into self-hate, self-criticism. That's one of my unbreakable boundaries. And a lot of times that actually has offended some people. Sometimes people want me to speak of myself the way that they speak of themselves. So that way they can feel more comfortable in my space. Some people really like a space full of drama. I don't. And that has pushed some people out of my life. But it has also allowed space for people who have similar boundaries and similar mentalities to what I have. And that has allowed me to consistently grow instead of me shrinking, instead of me uh, becoming or feeling like I am less than. I'm not interested in that. And this works on a financial level as well, in our businesses as well, because if we sit there and say that we are going to be a six-figure business owner, well, that means that there's going to be certain actions that come with that six-figure business owner hat, that mentality, that next step of being that boundary. Because when you're saying, I am this, you're setting a boundary with yourself. And this is why I am statements are also so very important and why we need to treat them with respect. Because when we say that we're not good enough or we don't deserve it or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, our brain puts forth the actions that actually match with that result. We have to be very, very careful. So what is it that you're going to want this year in 2026? And if you were to put that on, like what actions would you be doing that you're not already doing? See, once we started doing this with relationships and how when my clients started putting in these boundaries and who they said they're going to be, it created organization and order and a space for them to receive what it was that they really, really wanted. Because whatever result we want, there is a state of being that matches that result and more. So I believe too that God is a God that loves to bless and prosper his children, loves it. It makes sense, therefore, that when we align our mentality and our energy and our actions towards this thing that we say that we want, or this state of being that we say that we want to achieve. When we align that way, what tends to happen is we also call in other good things. So we might say we want this one gift from the universe, but the universe is like, you know what? I want to also give you all of this because all of these things also align with that energy. We have to see ourselves clearly. And once my clients started seeing themselves with healthy relationships, and they started seeing who they were and not apologizing for that person and actually standing for that person, being that person without apology. Yes, there were some people that kind of fell off their radar, but for the most part, they called in more and more and more abundance because they chose to be something different. They chose to adopt a different mindset than the one that they currently were holding. My loves, this is a short podcast this week, but I really want you to start sinking in with this boundary idea. What is it you want? Like, if you were to envision the next best version of yourself, what are they passionate about? What is it that they really want? What is it that matters to them? And how do they act in that value? So you've got some homework this week, okay? And we're going to come back to boundaries next week, and probably actually the rest of January, to be honest with you, because we really want to get into this state of being, like who we truly are. And what I want you guys to do this week is to ask yourself, who do you want to be? Who do I want to be? And what am I not doing right now that I need to be doing? Okay? All right, my loves. Again, if you guys would like a ticket to the Art of Expansion, that's March 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2026. It's coming up. I do have a lot of tickets to give you, and come expand your mindset, expand your vision, expand your wallets. Let's get you into the best year you're ever going to have. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
All right, Boundary Boss Babes. I'm super excited that you tuned in with me today. Make sure you tune in again next week as we chat about more Boundary Boss Babe topics. We're going to get into so many other things about how to set boundaries with your business, how to set boundaries with your relationships, so you can truly have the time, the money, and the flexibility that you are seeking. So tune in next week. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Let your other Boss Babe friends know about it. And also, if you've got any questions, make sure you submit them into the podcast by clicking on the Send Us a Text message at the bottom of the podcast description. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. See you later, Boss Babes.